and welcome to EntrepreNINES. I'm John Wist.
And I'm Bonni Mace. We are two Enneagram 9s who took the big leap into the world of entrepreneurship at a similar time. And this space is a space where we are inviting you to laugh and learn with us as we work to build businesses with soul. This is episode 47.
47. And you nailed it again, by the way. Good
I
job.
have like a little stutter, but
That's okay. That's all right.
we're going to blame that more on just myself.
Yeah, that's okay. That's all right. All right. So we are going to get into a deep dive today.
Deep dive.
Because we're pushing for some more interviews.
Yeah.
Talk to some more people this year.
Yeah.
So we are going to do type 4's.
Yeah. Type 4s.
So I'm kind of excited about this one a little bit.
Okay.
Because I feel like my experience with type 4's is so varied.
That would make a type 4 feel very excited to hear. I think. They're like, haha, we beat the box of the Enneagram.
Yeah. And
suckers.
so I feel like I'm curious, like I'm interested, like genuinely interested in like just better understanding.
Yeah.
Like where does this all come from?
Yeah, so complex. A type 4. I mean, all of them are, but like,
Yeah.
I mean, they live into their complexity without any sort of
Right.
facade. Is
Right.
what I'll put it.
Yeah.
Is how
Yeah.
I'll put it.
Yeah.
Interestingly, at the conference I was just at, I met more type 4s than any other type that people knew.
That doesn't surprise me.
Yeah.
For that
It was the post-evangelical collective.
Right.
It was kind of like all these people who have been rejected
Yeah.
by the traditional church.
Yeah.
So honestly, it held up that they were attracted to other wanderers. I
Yeah.
thought that was very interesting.
That is interesting.
But
Yeah.
type 4s. Yeah.
Type 4's. Yeah.
Type 4s.
So we kind of have always tried to keep a pretty similar direction
Yeah.
for all of these episodes.
But I forgot my sticky note
It's-
outline.
It's okay. It's okay. We know it. I
Yeah.
feel like we're good at it. So we're going to go through core motivations
Yes.
first.
Yeah.
Because this is kind of like the heart
Mm-hmm.
of each number.
Mm-hmm.
So first of all, we know there's a new name for
I
type
wrote
4.
it down.
So what's the, I guess,
Type 4s,
Yeah.
their nickname is
nickname?
known
Yes.
as the introspective individualist, which is 2 I's. Usually I like an alliteration, but
Yeah.
this one I'm not.
It's a
much
little
of a fan
it's a
of.
little hard. Yeah.
Yeah. So like they're known as like the creative type. Romantic was one of the other words for it. Just as far as like they love feeling
Yes.
and thinking about their feelings and
Yeah.
then feeling how they think about their feelings and then thinking about how they feel about they think about their feelings,
Yeah.
Like
It
that-
just goes deeper and deeper.
Yes.
Which introspective. I get that.
Yes.
I get that. Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay.
Mhm.
All right. Okay.
The one thing I have a beef about with is even a type 4 can avoid introspection
Sure.
healthily.
Sure,
They end up doing it, but not in a, but they're not like calling it that.
Got it. Okay. Yeah. That's
So,
good. Okay. Good.
Mhm.
All right. So there's your 50,000 foot view.
Yeah. The
Okay.
nickname.
Yeah. Okay. So let's
For type
go.
4.
Let's go to core motivations.
Yeah. Okay. So the core motivations, these are the things underneath all of our behaviors,
Yep.
how we perceive the world, in our actions, and all
Yeah,
of these things
yeah.
that they like drive everything, whether we're aware of it or not.
Right.
So there's 4 of them: core fear, core desire, core weakness, and your core longing. So we'll start with the fear because everybody tends to resonate with that, like boom, right off the bat.
Yeah.
Type 4's core fear is being inadequate, emotionally cut off, plain, mundane, defective, flawed, or insignificant. They want to be special. And so anything
Yeah.
that like chips away at their unique individuality and the like special something that they bring into the world,
Yeah.
they hate it.
Yeah.
They think, oh, and so they try to lean into the individualisticness. Anyway,
Individualism. Or
that's probably the right word.
Yeah. Sure.
Thank you.
Yeah.
They try to lean in hard to avoid that fear.
Yeah. Yeah.
Their core desire is to be unique, special, and finding their authentic self. Like authenticity is really important to a type 4. They want to be true to how they're feeling and who they are at all times.
Yeah.
But then they have this grappling with their core weakness, which is envy,
Okay.
but not like keeping up with the Joneses type of envy. Like we tend to
Okay.
think of envy of like,
Yeah.
I got to have a bigger house. I got to have a bigger car. Like
Yeah.
most type 4s don't care about this. And a lot of type 4s will hear like, that they are envious as a core weakness, and they'll be like, I don't think so. And I'll be like, okay, well, let's not think about it in as far as like an acquisitional envy.
Okay.
Like it's not things you're acquiring, which is what we tend to think of it about.
Sure.
It's the fact that you know that they have that special something that you don't think you have. And you think, like, if we're going to put it in spiritual terms, you think when God made me, God gave everybody else their unique individual thumbprint, and God forgot mine.
Interesting.
And I hate that about myself.
Interesting.
Yes. So they see what they desire, which is this unique, authentic expression of self in everybody else.
Yeah.
And they think they don't have it. They think they're missing it.
Okay.
So they're envious of the fact that you figured out how to wear a black t-shirt and express yourself in a very John Wist way.
Yeah, yeah.
And they think if I put on a black t-shirt, I would just look like a sheep. That's what they would think.
Interesting.
Yeah. So that's the struggle of envy.
This is so, I feel like...
Is it making some light bulbs go off with your phone?
Well, a little bit, but I like, it's interesting to me because I think that... Oh, sorry.
Your cup just nakeded itself.
Just pantsed itself. Like the whole idea, I think that little tangent. This is why I think coaching is so valuable.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Because you have like this thing that you've maybe been taught, or like you have been given an idea, right? About how certain people present themselves.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that the whole idea that I've been given maybe about a 4, right, is that the way they present themselves is like they are just a unique being. And that they kind of live into that, both in the good and the bad, in the sense that they kind of recognize in themselves they have some talent, they have some thing that makes them set apart.
Yeah. And
yet at the same time, like that set apartness pits them in some way.
Yeah.
Like against the person that they're looking at. It's not just this set apartness as in like I have a skill or a talent or something I've been kind of inherently blessed with or given. It's this, I have that, but it puts me in direct competition.
Comparison's very difficult for
right?
type 4.
And so what I think that's not wrong, right? Like kind of this idea, but it is interesting to me that at the core of that is not actually a trust or a recognition maybe of the value that they have and the uniqueness that they have. It's actually the opposite.
Yeah.
It's like, it's a almost like a going after because you think you lack.
Right.
Which is wild to me.
Yes.
That is like, I've never heard that.
Yes.
So thank you.
Yeah. And I mean, it holds up for 9s. Like if we're going to do the comparison, to like, we long to know that our voice matters. And then we sabotage the very fact that our voice could matter in the room.
Yeah.
So same thing with 4s. They long to be deeply understood uniquely for who they are.
Right.
And yet they believe they don't have anything to be uniquely understood by. And yet they want that. So then they say, you don't get it. Like you don't understand.
Yeah.
And when you try to say you do understand, they're like, oh, I knew I didn't have any unique qualities.
Right.
Like,
and that vibes like that. I feel like that I get, and that I feel like that I've experienced.
Yeah.
And so it's just, but it's, I think the identifying that is like at the core, like that's because
the motivating factor.
Right. Because I mean, just going back, like, kind of taking a step back for a second, what we didn't say this time, and I feel like we've done enough deep dives at this point that people kind of understand, but like the core motivations really are like the heart of each one of these types. And so they are like major driving forces.
Yes.
And so for a major driving force, right, in weakness to be this idea that like, I don't have, they have, must like attempt to get or something like that. Like that's a very dumbing down of what you just said.
Yeah. No, it's a good way.
But for that to be a core motivation, I think it just kind of like helps uncover even more understanding of like, oh, whoa, okay. So what I'm dealing with here is not like your doubt in yourself. It is like it's like a core feeling.
It's a deeply held shame.
Yeah. Ooh,
like
Okay.
4s are the ones that have the most deeply held shame. And we'll talk about why that is in just a second.
Okay.
But like they have the probably most shame of the Enneagram, of just this feeling of complete and utter inadequacy.
Okay.
And who they actually are.
Yeah.
Not like in their what they can do.
Yeah.
You know, I think a lot of times as 9s we feel like that. Well, I can't contribute to the room. It doesn't allow me to be part of the room. Right. Blah blah blah.
Right,
so not what they do, but like who they actually are. There's this deep seated insufficiency that's really hard for them to grapple with.
And that's again, that's just so clarifying, I think, to understand how deeply it goes. That it's not just it's not just a surface or not just a again like almost like a doubt. Like it's deeper than that.
Like they know that they're not measuring up,
right? Which
is not true.
Right.
This is a fear. This is a weakness.
Right.
It's not true.
Right.
But they have the hardest time seeing it.
Yeah.
For themselves.
So if you don't mind, do core longing real quick, and I want to jump even deeper into a question that we would normally ask later.
Okay.
Because I think it's a good time for it. But go ahead.
Sure. Okay. So their core longing is, and again, the core longing is like this idea of if you heard this statement and you deeply believed it, let it like sink into your very being, you'd experience this contentment.
Yeah.
In who you are and in all of life.
Yeah.
So what they long to hear is that you're seen and loved for exactly who you are, special and unique. So it's this grappling with, I want to be understood. I can't be understood. I don't have a thing to understand. I do have a thing to understand. I want the empathy. The empathy makes me feel unspecial. Yeah. That whole dance. So when you understand that unique thing and someone can actually empathize. And remember, empathize doesn't mean one-up story, right? Like it's not like, oh yeah, this happened to me in this way. Like, that's a word. That's a 4's word. They hate that.
Yeah.
They know they want to have the most unique experience. But the empathy is to say, I can understand how that might have made you feel. Yeah. Is this right? And then that's the unlocking thing. So it's not minimizing their uniqueness. It's saying, I don't have that unique experience and like expression, but I can imagine how it might feel. Yeah. Then that's what they want to hear.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
So I think why I want to ask this question now, and you can tell me if it would be better to ask it later.
Okay.
Is because I feel like already loving a 4 feels like there's, and this is just an initial thought. Okay, so don't hold this against me, 4s.
Okay.
It's not that it's hard to love a 4. I think what I'm sensing, maybe in my 9-ness as a peacekeeper, is there's a lot of places I could go here that would put me in trouble. Do you know what I mean? Like after hearing what you've said, just on the core motivations, it's like, okay, my approach to a 4, if I'm wanting to love them well, it almost feels like I have to think about that a lot because I don't want to like send them it. Like I want them to know that they're unique and that they're loved for being unique, but I don't want them to then all of a sudden go, whoosh, well, no, I'm not. And I'm envious of your uniqueness. Yeah. Right. So how do we love a 4 well?
Yeah. I think let them talk.
Okay.
And emote a little bit and don't feel, so 4s love a feeling. Yeah. They love an intense feeling. And they can go on these like kind of feeling spirals where it's like I kind of alluded to this, the thinking about their feeling and the feeling how they think about that. Yep. And so they can kind of go there and they're not afraid. Yep. Feelings that we would typically label as uncomfortable or bad, like a 4 doesn't feel that way. Yeah. So when a 4 is sad, my natural instinct as a 9, because it feels like rocky inner waters, is to want to, the Inside Out moment, the climax of Inside Out, the first one, where they're like, Bing Bong has lost his rocket, right? And Joy is trying to like, look at the bright side. That's my natural tendency. Yeah. What a 4 wants is for sadness to sit next to you and cry. Yeah. you know, and they're not uncomfortable with that.
Yeah.
Like they are feeling fully alive in that. So being able to sit with them in their feelings and not explain away their feelings, because when they're thinking about their feelings, they're not trying to like logic through it necessarily.
Right.
They're trying to understand. I mean, this is me as a 9. They're trying to like move more deeply into that feeling as why it's unique to the situation and to them right now.
Yeah. Okay.
So being able to sit with a 4 in their feelings, to be able to not say, I get it, but to maybe instead ask questions that move them deeper into their feeling, because they're the kind, they must fully synthesize a feeling before they can get out of it. Some of us can box up a feeling and compartmentalize and move on. A 4 will explode or die. So to sit with them and help them move the feeling through their entire body and like get it done would be a good way to help without minimizing what it is they're feeling. 4s probably are called dramatic more often than any number. Yeah. And they don't appreciate that. Right. There's like, unless their unique thing, they want to be known as dramatic. But they don't appreciate that. They're just, they are authentic. Right. Like, I'm not overplaying this. Right. I'm being authentic to how I feel. Yeah. Yeah. And so, you know, and that's a value that they hold. Right. So loving them well would be listening deeply, not interrupting. Like, no type loves being interrupted. Maybe a type 8. We can ask one. But not interrupting, not minimizing, not trying to rush through a feeling, sitting with them in that feeling. And then, you know, that's when they are in that mode. And then when a 4 is struggling, to call out what is good and beautiful that you see in them. Yeah. Might be a good way. Because they are automatically, like, they're some of their worst critics. 1s and 4s, I would never want to be in their head. Yeah. Because they're just you guys are so hard on yourself. I can be hard on myself, but they take it to another level. Yeah. So when they're struggling, to be able to point out the win without minimizing how they're feeling right now. So it's like this really fine line, or like needle to thread sort of thing of like, I know you're feeling this way because of how you're perceiving how you handled this particular issue or how you showed up here or whatever. Yeah. And sure, that's valid. Right. But what you're not looking at is how you did handle this well. Yeah. And how you did show up for this person here, and how you did succeed in this way. Like, you have glazed right over that. Yeah. And not celebrated that you did bring something unique and special and important into the room. That was beautiful. Yeah. And instead you're stuck here. Yeah. In the swallowing moment. Yeah. Yeah. So I think that's another way, is just like call out the beauty that they do offer, because they can't see the fact that they have it. Yeah. Which kind of makes me think that as 9s, it's sounding like to me that like we can play a kind of a unique role in a 4's life. Yeah, for sure. Because we tend to see a bigger picture, and we tend to see a more complete picture of maybe what has happened or what is happening. And, you know, not that we're all good at this at all the time, right? But like, I think one of the things that I think 9s do well is listen. And if we can deal with our own discomfort. Right. If we can sit there quietly and do it. Yeah. Yeah. You know, but like being able to sit there, listen well, and understand, I think, you know, that could be, if you're in a good space, like that could be like a really great place for you to be as a 9. So for yeah. The other thing that we could be good for each other is both 9s and 4s need to get into our bodies. And so if you have a type 4 friend, figuring out a regular rhythm of going on a walk and talk is probably a really good way to love each other. Yeah. Because like then that's going to, like, especially if you're going to sit with a 4 who's having a hard time over coffee, it's probably going to be like, I'm going to start fidgeting when I feel uncomfortable with their emotions. They're going to pick up on it because they're intuitive. Yep. So going on a walk and getting you each out of your head and into your body could be a really healthy place to process together. Nice. If you have a close friend who's a type 4 and trusts you in that way. I like that. So that's great. Okay. Thank you for going there already, because I feel like we just, I thought that was a good time. Okay. So let's go to kind Triads?
Triads. Yes.
Yeah.
Sorry. Triads, then wings. Yes.
Yeah.
Triads.
Triads
Sorry.
first.
Go ahead. Yeah.
So decision-making triads, this is kind of our primary center of intelligence where we make our decisions. And each triad has a central emotional struggle and like a focus. Okay. So type 4s reside in the feelings triad or the heart triad, which is pretty self-explanatory. This means they make decisions based on how they feel emotionally, not a knowing like us gut people. It's not a knowing. They can actually assign an emotions word to how they're feeling about a decision. So a confident decision comes with the correctly named emotions that they're going for.
Yeah.
And they can tell you, like, this part of this decision makes me feel sad, but I can deal with that sadness because over here I can feel the hope or whatever. And that's how they're going to make decisions. Their fixation, like the thing that they're focused on, is significant identity. Okay. So this means, am I important here?
Yeah.
So this triad, it consists of the 2s, the 3s, and the 4s. So significant identity for a 2 comes in that, we talked about 2s last time, comes in this, how can I take care of the people around me? When I take care of people, then I am important to them. 3 significant identity is when I win the games and when I have the first place trophy, then I am important. Okay. Type 4 is when I'm able to authentically express who I am. Then I am important.
Okay.
So it's all this importance, right? Who do I matter to? How do I matter? So the emotional struggle, the flip side of that is shame.
Okay.
Because if you're not important, then you're worthless. So that becomes like the counter opposite of the significant identity. So that's this tough, is why 4s so deeply feel the shame.
Ooh.
Because
it's more identity based.
Yes. Like you can always serve some, like it's, for a type 2, you can find somebody to make happy by serving. There's always people willing to take, right?
Sure.
So a 2 can kind of shutter their shame in a compulsive, like unhealthy way by serving. You can always find somebody to serve. 3s are going to pretend that shame is not a thing because they're in the middle. So they're going to pretend like it's not a thing, but it's going to drive everything they do. 4s are like, no one understands me. And when I can't be seen for that significant thing, then I am useless all the time. So that's why shame is such a deep thing for them and something to be aware of because it becomes such a strong motivator for them.
Interesting.
Too.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's triads. Wings. Let's go with wings.
Yeah. Wings are your neighbor numbers. So they're the number on either side. So for 4, it's a type 3 wing and a type 5 wing, which means that 4s show up wildly different depending on what their strong wing is.
Because this feels so very different.
So very
different.
We haven't done deep dives on either of these numbers yet, but a type 3 is kind of this effective achiever. I alluded to this just a minute ago. Like winning the game is the important thing to a type 3.
Right.
Being efficient is highly important to a type 3. If you're going to drive a type 3 crazy, have an inefficient process and ask them to run it, and they're not allowed to change it. Like they will slam their head into the table, might run out screaming kind of thing. They are not, this is like a conflicting pairing because they don't have to feel authentic. They want to show up to win the room. So the type 3 will put on whatever mask they need to win the room. So authenticity is deeply difficult for type 3.
That's wild. Okay.
Yeah. So a 4 with a 3 wing is going to struggle with that. They're going to know what the room needs, and they're going to have this intense inward struggle with trying to find their significance by being who the room wants them to be, even though that directly is in conflict with who they want to be. So they're going for the effectiveness, they're going for expression, they're going for all of this, but there's a temptation to kind of like morph and then hate yourself for morphing. So it's very intense.
Wow.
It's very intense for them. I'm going to kind of look at some of this. too. So, but what they can bring that's really strong is like they are very creative, very original. And because they're motivated, because type 3s are very outwardly motivated, they get a lot done. They have a high capacity.
Yeah.
This 4 can borrow from that and become a very effective creator, very innovative, and able to share it outward with the room.
Yeah. Yeah.
Whereas the wing 5, a wing 5 is the investigator. So they're like very inward. They're very quiet. They're very concerned about not draining themselves of all resources. Like they can have like hoarding tendencies with stuff, with information, with personal facts about themselves. Very inward. So a 4 with a wing 5 is going to be probably a bit of a wallflower.
Okay.
Because they're going to be a little bit worried about if I share this part of me and it's rejected, then it's going to be a drain. And so they're kind of pair a little better together because a 4 likes to be an observer and a 5 likes to be an observer.
Yeah.
So that meshes a little better than a 4 wing 3.
Yeah.
What they can really bring is these are probably like your very eccentric 4s, right?
Okay.
Because they don't really care about impressing the room.
Yeah.
They care about their authentic expression, and they can deep dive using that like 5 research.
Yeah.
They can like deep dive into their personal interests and into their inner world, and they can find that exact, like outfit that no one else will have because they've done hours of research to figure out the fact that this is something that no one else will have and they can express themselves in this way.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So they can be really eccentric and mysterious, and they can take this very intellectual side that a 5 brings and the very deep emotional side that a 4 brings and bring like this just really rich depth and an angle that no one else has seen before.
Interesting.
So it's a very like they're deep.
Yeah.
The 4 wing 5. They're very deep. We've known a 4 wing 5 that can be very beautiful with words because they're sitting there and they're feeling every definition of the word. They're feeling every emotion of the word, and they're just putting it together to be like beautiful.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
so that's kind of what they bring.
Interesting. Okay. That's good.
Yeah.
That's good. So we're still working on our interview for this one.
Yeah.
But I would say, from what I know, 4 wing 3 probably lines more up with kind of. So I'm curious, once we start talking to them, like if they know their winger, but like what you would think about that, because I think they're just even just seeing the names on here.
Yeah, I didn't share this.
Which is kind of funny. Which is like 4 wing 3 is the aristocrat. And 4 wing 5 is the bohemian. Yeah. You kind of, I think that's, that's helpful, and again, like not trying to pigeonhole people, into certain definitions, but I think it is helpful, to like, that is an identifier, or these describing words are identifiers that can help us to better understand people. Right.
Yeah.
So that's, that's what we're after.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. But. And the other thing is like, if you're a 4 and you're listening to this, the like temptation will be to be like, oh yeah, I'm a 4 wing 5 and this is how I do. So of course I can't finish your project and share it, blah, 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 blah.
Right.
No, like you have access to both wings.
Yeah.
Just like we do.
Right.
Like you have access to both wings. And so it'd be some of the work of growth and becoming more whole is recognizing that you do have access to the 3 wing too. And that you can lean into that, and that 3, like you can be authentic. You have the ability to dive into who you are. All of those things are available to you too. So
which is the beauty of the Enneagram,
right?
Like it's all available to you. Yeah, you just have to understand about yourself and where the strengths and weaknesses are. Speaking of paths, so tell us about the paths for a 4.
Yeah. So as a reminder, these are kind of the tools you borrow from 2 other numbers, just like you borrow from your wings, for stress times and for times when you're trying to grow.
Yeah.
So we'll start with stress. An Enneagram 4's stress number is a 2. which we just deep dived on too.
Yep.
You can go find that to understand that these are the loving servants.
Yep.
And so when a 4 is stressed and wants to find significance, they are borrowing the quote unquote the easy route from a 2 by serving to them.
Yeah.
So that then they can feel significant. But then there's like this weird thing that happens with a 4 in stress trying to act like a 2 is they're not serving necessarily to serve consciously.
Okay.
Right? Like, so consciously they think they're serving to serve.
Yeah.
Subconsciously they're looking for someone to say, wow, you served me in a really unique way. I noticed this unique quality about you. Blah, blah, blah. Like they want it to be about them, not necessarily about the serving. Whereas that's not the motivation for a 2.
For 2.
Right?
Right. Yeah.
So it becomes this really like twisted, it can become a very twisted relationship where 4s are known for this like yo-yo effect and stress particularly, where they serve you and they pull you in and they want to make you dependent on them. And then when you don't understand them the right way that they were going for, they push you away and say, how dare. And then you're at an arm's length and you're like, what the heck just happened? I thought they wanted to help me and serve me. And I said one wrong thing and now I'm banished. Yeah. And I'm alone. And so it can be feeling toxic. Yeah. And so that's just something for a 4 to be aware of. Like when you're feeling compelled to move toward people and help them, what is underneath of that? Yeah. What is it? Yeah. Because there is a way you can serve and show up. We're not going to get into that here. Okay. That's coaching. That's fair. So that's a 2. Very, very disorienting. Very disorienting. Yeah. For growth, where they need to go is a type 1 and start borrowing some type 1 tools. Why? Because the type 1 is very practical. Yeah. And they're not focused on uniqueness. They're focused on what's right and what's wrong and what moves the things forward towards justice. And so when they start borrowing tools from type 1, 4s start to move projects forward. They start to, or they're able to like halt a spiral down. Yeah. And say, I know I'm feeling the things, but I can borrow from my type 1 and set myself a correct timer so that I don't end up in the deep dark hole. Yeah. Right? Yep. Or I can spend 5 minutes in the deep dark hole because I don't mind the deep dark hole. I'm a type 4, but I know it's not going to be healthy for me if I stay in the deep dark hole for the next 3 weeks. Yeah. So they borrow from the type 1 to say, I'm going to go here, I'm going to process, and then I'm going to move forward. Yeah. And make progress.
So this is kind of maybe, you can tell me if I'm totally off base here. It also feels like that would drive maybe also like more kind of definition or boundaries around like morality or something like that for a 4. Because if I think about like a 4 uniqueness, some like if you, like, let's just like all admit, like there's been those people in our lives who because they want to be unique, push the boundaries of morality or like, or just, or just even like, they just push boundaries, right? Because they're seeking the uniqueness of being the person who does that, or doing something different than what somebody would expect. Whereas I feel like the 1 is so tied to doing like the expected or doing the thing that they deem the expected, that they deem as the right or the wrong or the just or the unjust. Like it feels like that could really kind of like in a growth place and used properly, I think like set some boundaries that helped a 4 to understand more so where they are unique and where they kind of line up in the world. So
yeah, I would say that's fair. Because if you think about it, even just like if we were solely emotionally driven people, right. Which is kind of a temptation for a 4 is to like, if it doesn't feel, is to chase the feeling. Yeah, I should put it that way. The temptation for a 4 is to chase the feeling. Yep. And feelings are not bad. Feelings are good indicators. They give us a lot of information. We should honor them. Those of us who are emotionally constipated, like myself, like we have a lot to learn from people who are emotionally in tune. Yeah. There's all this growing research that says emotionally intelligent individuals will succeed and go further in life than those who do not have emotional language, right? Yeah. So there's that. And there's the fact that if we were only emotionally driven and we only chase the feeling, we are going to lead ourselves into some murky areas in life.
Yes. Yeah.
Whether it only hurts us or whether it hurts the people around us. Yes. So exactly what you're saying of like, then you have a 1 who they need to learn the other way, right? And like they need to unlock some emotions and listen to that as well. But their tendency is going to be the right thing motivates me forward, no matter how I feel in the moment. So
right.
You're totally right on.
Okay. Cool. That's good. I like that.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's them.
Well, there you go. There's your deep dive on a type 4.
On a type 4, and we talked about how to love them well.
We talked about
I mean, I think there could be an entrepreneur support group. Probably. I was kind of laughing about how I just think that the entrepreneurial journey for a 4 is probably similar, like the way that we feel about rejection. I think that so we kind of take it in this communal bent, right? Of like, I don't fit in this community.
Right.
And what I would imagine an entrepreneurial 4 hears rejection as is I am a worthless piece of trash, right? Yeah. Like rejection.
Like it comes back on them.
Yeah. It's very individualized. Yeah. And so I can imagine just the work that has to go into being a type 4 creator or entrepreneurial spirit who is trying to put themselves out into the world all the time, and how challenging that could be.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we would love if you are an entrepreneur and you would like help creating a space.
We can let you know.
We can help you out. So yeah. No, that's all really good. And I am looking forward to. We're hoping for a specific 4 that I know to join us, and I think it would be really enlightening because I think they're in some ways also very similar journey to us in the sense that they've been through a ministry field, and now have their own business, and just how they've navigated that, as a 4, and in an industry where they're getting a lot of personal feedback. Yeah. So that would be really, that's the goal. So, thanks, Bonni.
No problem. I will say one more thing about 4s is everybody hates when they find out they're 4. Every 4 hates when they find out, they're like, oh, I knew it.
Dang it.
They just like hang their head. This sucks. That's kind of that's been my experience every time a 4 has been identified. Yeah. And so then the coaching with them is kind of like, this is wonderful.
Right.
Like you hold within you wonderful, beautiful things. Yeah. And let's discover that together. Right. And some of my favorite internet voices are healthy, wise 4s.
Nice.
Right now.
Nice. Yeah. That's awesome.
And so that's been very interesting for me because, my experience with 4s like you has been quite varied. So the fact that like, honestly, like my top 2 voices right now on the internet are these healthy, honest 4s that they are not, I'll just name it. Emily P. Freeman. She's a type 4.
Okay.
Scott Erickson, Scott the painter, he's a 4.
Yeah.
And they show up in their spaces and they're honest. Yeah. And they bring this unique bent. And particularly Scott Erickson is very good about being honest with the spirals. Yeah. And I noticed that, he comes on after a show or whatever, and he's really honest about I'm in the hangover, the post-show hangover. Yeah. And I know today I have to move my body and eat nachos. And that's like, there's no reason for me to know that about him, but I do. I know that after a show, Scott Erickson needs to go on a walk and eat nachos. Like that's how he shows up in guides and offers his like unique leadership in the world. So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Very
4s.
Cool.
You're amazing.
Yeah.
I know you need to hear that. And you're probably rolling your eyes like, whatever, she doesn't know me.
Yeah.
I don't know you. But I bet it's in there.
But it's there. Yeah. All right. Well, thank you, Bonni.
No problem.
If you like your own personal deep dive,
I do that.
Bonni can do that for you. Also, she's going to be creating some classes.
It's true.
For some specific numbers.
Yeah.
So I just
4s are one of them.
I just said it on a podcast, so now you got to do it.
Yeah.
So yeah, head to Empathetic Enneagram. Check it out. .com. Also, EntrepreNINES.com.
Yeah.
If you want to join Work Like a Nine. By the time this comes out, I believe
mid-May.
Yes, the following Monday will be our meeting. The 20th, May 20th. So if you'd like to join us, $9 a month, EntrepreNINES.com. You can head there.
I'm looking at the calendar and make sure you're
great.
not
I
lying.
think I'm right about it. I know May very well. I know May very well.
He's so right. Y'all. He knows May so well.
And in the meantime, hey, give us a rating and review because we'd love other people to find us. So. Yep.
And all the links, if we mention them, are in the show notes, including to EntrepreNINES.com, my website. And we will also link, if you love this podcast studio that you're looking at, and you live in Maryland.
It's probably best for if you live in Maryland. Yeah.
It's maybe Delaware, if you feel like a hot commute.
Yeah,
maybe Southern Pennsylvania.
Yeah. Northern Virginia.
The DMV.
The Eastern, DMV. Yeah, DMV.
You can also record here.
Eastern Shore. We're just a hop, skip, and a jump over a Bay Bridge.
Hop, skip, and a jump. And for those of you who don't live in Maryland, that's not the one that fell down, so it's good.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. Yes, I'm sorry. Yes, we have lots of bridges.
We have lots of bridges. That one is intact.
That one is okay. Okay, all right.
Anyway, that's it.
Thanks, everybody. All right, we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.